All right, now back in next on the tee with me is Champions Tour pro Rob Labritz. As I'm sure you guys remember, Rob is a legend up in the New York area and the metropolitan section. He won the 2006 New York State PGA Championship. He's won the New York Open 3 times. He's also won the Westchester Open, the Rhode Island Open, and the Massachusetts Open. He's been named the Westchester Golf Association's Player of the Year 6 times and the Metropolitan PGA Section Player of the Year twice. He was the only club professional to make the cut at the 2010 PGA Championship at Whistling Straits. He was also Low Club Pro in 2019 at Bethpage Black. He's played in 8 PGA Championships in all. He's played the last 5 seasons out on the Champions Tour after being medalist at their Q School back in 2021. And over those seasons, he's had 6 top 10 finishes and 26 top 25s, including finishing tied for 4th in the 2022 and 2023 U.S. Senior Opens. He's coming off a tied for 16th finish in the Trophy Hassan tournament played over in Morocco, and I'm very excited. I get to spend some more time with him this week right here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Rob, how are you, my friend?
Wow. Yeah, Chris, how are you? Great. Nice to hear your voice.
Same here. And first of all, happy belated birthday, my friend, May 31st. I hope it was a great day.
It was a great day. We had a great day with the family, kids. It was pretty awesome. I can't believe I turned 29.
That is remarkable since you've been playing out on the Champions Tour for 5 years. How'd you sneak that past them?
Oh, you can get a license made over, buy it by Bitcoin. It scans and everything like that, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 55. So 55 now. Just hit the magic speed number.
So, Rob, like I was saying to you before we went live, it always perks me up when I see that you're in the field for a Champions Tour tournament. You made the cut back at the Senior PGA. Like I mentioned, you just finished tied for 16th a couple of weeks ago in Morocco. I know you were dealing with back issues for a couple of seasons. How you feeling physically and how you feeling about your game?
I feel physically and mentally solid. I'm ready to go. Nice. It was a nice kickoff a couple weeks ago in the Trophy Hassan to get my game, going pretty well while I was battling some pretty good food poisoning.
Oh,
But yeah, it happens when you travel overseas. But yeah, the game is solid. The body feels great. I've been able to practice, so much more, which is the whole key to my game. If I can't practice, it's really hard to compete against the best in the world. So been able to put the time in and the body's cooperating with me. So I'm just riding this wave while I'm on it with the surfboard,
and Rob, I was talking with Sean McKeel about this recently, and even for Sean as a major champion, he was talking about the struggle to get into tournaments out on the Champions Tour and trying to get tournament reps. You talk about practice. You're kind of in a similar boat. What's it been like for you trying to get an opportunity to play and to practice at the level you need to be competitive out on the Champions Tour?
Well, the practice is easy. I practice at my home here in Florida. I've got a few clubs that I go back and forth to, and so I work on my game every day. I write for sponsors exemptions to get into the events, and over my past records over the years, I love playing in the pro-ams. I love just being out there and playing golf. So I'm always happy when I'm out there playing golf, and just love doing that stuff for the sponsors. So I was able to get a few sponsor invites, and if I don't get a sponsor invite, I'm out there qualifying on that Monday. I'm going to get every tournament. I'm going to hit every one, and see where I stand at the end of the year. I know this year I've played in 5 events already. Games coming around again, which is nice. My confidence is coming back. So if I can get to 2 more, get to 7 events, my name will pop up on that Schwab Cup money list, and then we can see where we can go. If we can finish in that top 72, get into the playoffs, and then play well in the playoffs, and try to get in that top 36 again. That's the goal. So that's my focus, and that's what we're trying to do.
Rob, something else that I was talking with Sean about is the difference between playing with friends and local competition and playing out on tour. Tour level reps just aren't something you can replicate at your home club. How do you try to prepare and get ready when you're not getting into back-to-back tournaments out on the Champions Tour?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where you just got to find things to play in. Either I play a lot with my friends, and we get into money matches and have fun that way. So, I've had so many reps at 55. If I'm not tournament ready right now, then I don't think I'll ever be. But it sure helps to play in a few events to get things rolling. But Chris, I practice every day. I work out every day. I play. I try to play golf at least 9 holes, every day, and I usually play more than that. And then you just keep your game ready for those, for those qualifiers and those spots that you do get. Tomorrow I've got the final U.S. Senior Open qualifying at the Bears Club. So you have to 8:42. So tomorrow night we'll either be celebrating or on to the next event in Iowa. So it's just a mental focus of just knowing that you're playing every day and practicing every day. So you should be ready.
Rob, as we look ahead a couple of weeks to the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills, as a guy who spent all those years up there in the Met section, I'm guessing you played Shinnecock a time or two. Talk about the golf course and what's waiting for those guys when they tee it up at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I actually worked at Shinnecock from '97 to '99 for 3 years. So played that golf course day in and day out for 3 years, and it's still one of my favorite golf courses on the planet, if not my top, one or two. It's an incredible test of golf. They put in 15 new tee boxes, I believe, in the last U.S. Open, which made the golf course even longer. It all depends on the wind out there. The wind can blow in one direction in the morning, and it can blow one direction in the afternoon, and another direction in the evening. So, and in the golf course, once you get it offline and fescue, is extremely penal. And the greens out there are when they're really fast, they've got some great movement to them. So you're gonna see a great champion come out at Shinnecock. You have to be on point, and you can't make any mistakes or miss hit any shots. It's just that type of golf course.
So, Rob, if those winds are up, do guys like, Scotty, who's from Texas and used to playing in that, and some of the European players, the guys from England, Ireland, Scotland, like Rory, Justin Rose, Shane Lowry, those kind of guys, did they have a bit of an advantage having grown up and played in those kind of windy conditions all the time?
Yeah, definitely the windy conditions help, and if the golf course setup and the conditions of the course is it windy and soft? Is it windy and firm? I don't see Shinnecock being soft. So definitely if you're used to playing in the wind and you're used to playing firm conditions, then the guys who can control their golf ball and control the flight of their golf ball, out there and still hit it pretty long are going to have an advantage.
I had Peter Gray on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's just written a book about all the great courses out there on Long Island. As you think about Shinnecock and your time again spent up there, what are some of your favorite courses around the Long Island area that you enjoyed playing along with Shinnecock?
Oh goodness, there's so many. I'll start with Bethpage, Bethpage Black. I mean, you can't mention Long Island without mentioning Bethpage Black. You've got Deepdale out there. You've got all the ones in the East End. You've got Atlantic, Maidstone, National, Long Island National. You've got great hidden gems like Noyak. If I haven't mentioned it, Atlantic. There's just you. The farther east that you go, the more sand belt you get, and the less trees you get. It seems like, and it just the wind blows more and more as you get out to that east end of Long Island. But there's from the North Shore to the South Shore. There's Rockaway Hunting Club. There's another great one on the South Shore. I could go on and on. There's just so many of them. Long Island's blessed with great golf.
Rob, looking back into the earlier parts of your playing career, 2004, you're out there playing on the Golden Bear Tour and you won the Waterford Hotel Classic. You did so by a stroke over George McNeil, amongst others. And George is a good friend of our mutual great friend, Tom Patry. George is out there in TP's Nape of the Vine in Naples. And George won a couple of times on the PGA Tour. He's got 4 top 10s this season on the Champions Tour. I'm curious what you remember about that week going back to '04, besting George by a stroke and getting that win.
Yeah, I don't, I didn't even know it was over George, to be honest with you. I'd have to go and look at that. That's kind of funny. I'll have to rib him about that. That was the week my father passed away. I wasn't actually even going to play in that event, the Teardrop Championship, and decided to play that week, and and won that week. That was a crazy week, but one that I'll never forget. That's for sure. I could win the Masters or the U.S. Open, and it would equate to that week. I just wish my dad was here to see it.
You also competed for years over on the Australia Asian Tour, the Gold Coast Golf Tour, as well as the Golden Bear Tour. And I was curious, Rob, as you look back at that time, I mean, not only trying to get a win out there and advance your tour career, but also just earning enough money to live from week to week. What was it like playing on some of the mini tours and trying to go from week to week, surviving and to keep your dream alive?
Well, when you're young, you can really run well on peanut butter and jelly and lemonade. Yeah, I mean, your whole life was just about. I made friends with all the other golfers, and we traveled together. We played the JC Goosey tours, and you'd get in hotel rooms together, cut expenses. You travel together. It was a fun time in your life. But when you're in your early 20s, and God, that was now 30 years ago. Times have certainly changed for the guys coming out. There's so many other tours to play on. But it was some of the greatest experiences I've had in my life. I got to see, the world, and I wasn't even a man yet. So it was a really cool experience. I've always just loved the game of golf, and where it's brought me. My whole life is wrapped around it. So whatever new adventures can come out of my golf game, that's why we try to keep it sharp, and it might be even be able to pay the rent here.
And Rob, some of those courses that are international that most of us will never get an opportunity to see, maybe we've seen some pictures, probably not. What are some of the great golf courses that you had an opportunity to go play on that we can live a little vicariously through you and learn a little bit about from your time out there on the Australia Asian Tour and the
Oh,
Gold Coast Tour?
yeah. So in Australia, Huntingdale, what a great golf course down there. In Melbourne, that was got so long ago, 2005. Moona Links was another great one down there. We played the Australian Open there. And then there was one up on the east coast of, it was up by Coolum Beach, which, by the way, if you're ever in Australia, a lot of backpackers go through there. Very cool area. It was a Hilton or a Sheraton golf course. I can't remember. That was pretty cool. But then, going to Ireland and playing in Scotland and the senior Britishes and Wales and getting a chance to play, Old Head and Tralee and oh goodness, there's so many. We played Sunningdale last year for the senior British. The great golf courses overseas are just it's just a different way of playing golf and so much more fun than the target golf you kind of have here in the U.S. Just different mounds, different visuals. It's a lot more undulations. Very cool.
All right, so you got to tell me about Old Head. That's at the top of my bucket list. It's a place that, I've talked to several of the people that work there and others that have played there. I got to get your perspective because it just looks like an unbelievable golf course and experience playing there.
It is top notch. It's one of those places that you don't want to get depressed playing out there because you could easily just take a step off a cliff and end your life. That's how steep the cliffs are out there, right on the golf course. It is absolutely magnificent. Some of the most beautiful views, beautiful drops, beautiful cliffs. It's an experience to get out there on that little island and play it. It's actually incredible experience.
Were
But
you
just
lucky enough to get a
uh,
calm day or did you get all the wins?
we got to, it was a while ago. It was probably 2007 or eight, but I do remember playing Old Head, and it wasn't crazy wind. Um, the day we played Waterville was crazy wind. That was the day we could hit wedges up in the air and the ball would go backwards.
Oh, my.
But yeah, Old Head wasn't that way. It was a little calmer, so we got to experience it, which was nice.
One of the things that I've gotten an appreciation for, maybe one of the few good things about Live Golf, was seeing the Australia golf fans come out there for their Adelaide event and the 100,000-ish people that turn out for that event every year. You got an opportunity, obviously, to see a lot of Australian golf and golf fans. What are the golf fans like down there? Because it just seems like they come out in droves and have a great time.
Oh yeah, I mean Australia. Oh, and they're coming out in droves on the Champions Tour right now and playing well out there. The last few years as well. Australian golf fans are great. One of my best mates is from Australia. Actually, met him playing in the Australian Masters over there, and he's been one of my good friends ever since. Yeah, I mean it's like any other things. Very respectful, love the game. Just happy to be out there watching and they say things a little different than we do in the States. So you got to just wrap your way around how they say things.
Rob, looking back to 2023, just a few years ago, you were ranked 29th out on the Champions Tour. And after an exhilarating putt to get you into the top 36 on the number to make it into the playoffs that year. And look, I get that golf, at least used to be, and I guess sometimes still is on the PGA Tour, certainly it is on the Champions Tour, is the ultimate meritocracy. But life out there can be emotionally challenging. 1 minute, they're celebrating you and celebrating your story, and the next they're saying, sorry, we don't have a spot for you out here anymore. You didn't make it up high enough, or you don't have something, right? Enough career wins, career money, whatever it is. How do you deal with the emotional highs and lows that you've had to go through over the last few years on the Champions Tour?
Yeah, I mean, I truly didn't really know what it meant when I won Q School. I won Q School. I was exempt for 27 events. I played solid that first year out there. Finished, I think, 40th on the Schwab Cup money list, so I wasn't in the top 36, but played in almost all the events again. I played well on the Senior Open, so I was exempt for the majors. The third year was my best year when I believe when I finished 36th. Or no, was that my second year? My third year was my flounder year after I finished 36th. It was I had the injury in my back, and I was trying to play while I was injured with all sorts of shots in me, and it just wasn't a good mix. But it was something that I'm glad that I did, because I wanted to, I learned, reflected back on all this stuff and all the decisions that I made and when I made them. I just wanted to play golf, to be honest with you. I wasn't thinking about keeping cards, losing cards. I just wanted to be healthy and play golf. Unfortunately, that year I missed my card by $15,000, and I missed an event or two due to my back. So yeah, losing the status, that close, and not having a good year was really tough. I took it hard. You know, just took it hard. Yeah, I worked really hard, and was trying to fight through an injury. So I never quite experienced that, going through that in my life, having to work hard while you're injured, because I was always, if I had to fall back on something, I was a club pro. I taught, I took time off, but when you're out playing golf, you can't do that. So to be honest with you, Chris, the last 2 years or the last year or so, I've been, grinding out there. I played, I think, 6 events last year. A few sponsor invites, qualified for a few. It wasn't a lot. And what it really made me do was really make me work on my game at home. I played a bunch of other events, Colorado Senior Open, some other senior stuff, but just to kind of stay sharp. But I looked at it as a positive. I was able to spend a lot of time by myself. And when I got a chance to do that out in the golf course, without a caddy, without any crowds or anything, I really just kind of fell in love with playing, and practicing again. And my body started to feel good again. So I learned a lot about myself in the past year or so: how to travel, how to deal with failure when you don't get into events and play well. You shoot 67 or 68, you don't get into an event. How do you deal with playing well and not getting into the events? It's a whole learning process out there. So what I've come down to now is, and what I've been thinking about my wife, is just to grab each day and make the best out of each day. And whenever these tournaments fall, prepare for them, and then go out there and try to qualify, or ask for a sponsor invite, and then just go play your best. The one thing I have found is that low scores, when you play your best, take care of a lot of things. So I'm just hoping that the putts will start to fall. They started to fall in Morocco a little bit last week, which was nice while I was pretty sick, and I've been practicing really hard and hitting the ball really well. So my brain's in a good place, my body's in a good place, and I'm just looking forward to battling and getting to 7 events so I can pop my name up on that Schwab Cup list, and then see where I can go from there. It's a big challenge to me to get back out in that tour, and it's one that I'm not going to back down from. So I'm going to give it my all and grind and see what happens at the end of the season. That's all I can do, and work my hardest,
Yeah, I love that, by the way. And just your whole attitude, Rob, and I've said this to you other times, you're so easy to root for. You've always got a smile on your face. You're so positive and upbeat. We need more people like you, not only in the game of golf, but in the world in general. I know you have a strong faith. Talk about how important faith is to you and how you're able to maintain such a wonderful level of positivity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, faith is a big part of my life too. I don't talk about it a lot. I'm kind of to myself with it. And it's a big part of my family. And we just try to hunker down as a family and really try to just do the right thing. If we do the right thing and work hard and treat people with respect and nice and say please and thank you, it sounds so easy, but uh, if you kind of live your life by those rules and just try to treat people like you want to be treated, then life will work out good for you. So that's what I've tried to live my life on. And I talk to the man upstairs and I keep all that stuff private with me because that's something that that I like to keep private. So but I have a great relationship with the man upstairs. That's for sure.
Rob, I want to get your thoughts switching gears just a little bit and maybe more on the opposite side of that coin because you've been a wonderful part of the PGA of America for many years. Uh, it seems to me like that organization is struggling from a leadership perspective. I'm a huge Susie Whaley fan. I love everything about the Whaley family, but it feels like since her time as president, the PGA's leadership has gone downhill. Obviously, Don Ray has they've moved him on from his role as president. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts when you look at the PGA of America from a leadership perspective and maybe just as an organization. What would you like to see them do differently or better?
Well, let me start by saying I'm a proud life member of the PGA. And I've always tried to do well by my club and by my section. And once it got out of the section's hands and it gets up into national, uh, that's a different ball game for me. I try not to get involved in the politics. I hope the PGA makes some right decisions and gets some leadership in there that they know they can trust from a teacher and a player and a businessman standpoint, guy who really understands or gal who really understands the game and can grow the game. We have 30,000 people, 30,000 PGA members and apprentices out there. That I mean, I walk into all these clubs and they are there every day grinding their way into a career with the game. We just need to take care of our membership. It's a really big membership. We need to make sure we just take care of our membership and keep taking care of our membership, because if we do that, we will grow the game and give all what we're getting back to grow the game even more. So I just hope that the the leaders look at the PGA as a whole and start taking care of the membership as a whole, and also take a look at the top players and the top teachers and the top merchandisers and just keep incentivizing people to be better PGA pros, because the more you incentivize that, the better PGA pro they're gonna be, and the more people that'll want to play golf. It's kind of a vicious little cycle.
Indeed. Rob, just a couple more before I let you go. And I want to get a playing lesson from you because I know in the past you've talked about how putting had been the weakest part of your game. And I'm curious what drills you work on that can help all of us who struggle with our putting as well get a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever said that. No, I'm just kidding. That's the first part of it. You have to believe that you're a good putter. Um, yes, I think every pro's gone through the putting woes. Um, you know, it all gets back down to speed and line and hitting the ball solid. If you can do that, you'll have an idea of what's going on. Some of the great drills that I like to do are just inside 3 to 5 feet. Put a little tee on the back of the hole and try to hit the tee, which makes the hole a lot smaller. When you're working on your speed, work on your speed from 3 to 4 feet, maybe even 5 feet, trying to maybe just drip it over the edge in the spot that you're picking. Or other times you might want to try to hit it firm and try to hit the back of the cup. Those are your speed drills. And then, once you get out there, just if you're a visual person, I've got this really cool training tool that I use almost daily now. It's a little laser that goes on my club. I don't even know who it's made by, to be honest with you. So I'd love to promote them, but it clips onto your club and it puts a laser out in front of your putter head. And it's like a 4 foot laser, like with an arrow. So it's you can make it as straight as you want, and if that laser is going right towards your hole, right over your hole, your face is always square. So I've been using that thing when I've been practicing a lot, which has really helped. And I got to admit, 2 weeks ago in Morocco, which are probably some of the toughest greens we have, I didn't have a three putt. So my putting is getting better. My confidence is getting better. And I just tell myself I'm a good putter and I'm a great putter every day. And I love putting.
Rob, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can we stay up to date with you, all the great things that you're out there doing, and when you're out on the Champions Tour, how can we stay up to date with you and all the great things that you continue to do and achieve?
Well, I appreciate that, Chris. I'm kind of an Instagram guy and Facebook. So Rob Labritz Golf or Rob Labritz on Facebook. I've got a Twitter account. Occasionally I'll throw something out there, LinkedIn. And if you ever need to reach me, it's really easy. My email address is rob@roblabritz.com. So if you have a question, I get a lot of them. I get a lot of emails, and sometimes it takes me a day or two to get back, but I'll always get back to you. And so anytime you want to reach out, and my website, roblabritz.com, if you want to check out some things, although I haven't updated it in a while. So, but there you go.
Rob, it's always a huge thrill to get to spend some time with you. Like I say, you're one of the most positive people that I've run across, and that always means a lot. One of the mantras, if you will, that I try to build this show on is what I call vitamin G, or gratitude. And you're a guy that always shares a lot of gratitude and just brings positive vibes everywhere you go. And like I say, and I mean this seriously, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, we need more Rob Labritzes in the world, because you make it different and better, and you make a difference because of who you are.
Well, same to you, Chris. I appreciate the time out here. It's always great to hear your voice and talk to you. I really appreciate what you say, and thank you.
Take care, Rob. All the best to you and your family. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Chris, you as well. I look forward to our next chat.
See you, Rob.
Take care, Chris.
That is the great Rob Labritz, folks. At Rob Labritz Golf is where you're going to find him on Instagram, and roblabritz.com is his website. But, folks, there's just nobody easier to root for in life or in our game, especially guys playing out on tour, than Rob Labritz. I encourage you to Google Rob and really go on YouTube and do a search for Rob, because almost every single video that you look at, I mean, there are some things that you don't really get to get the character of Rob's face because you're going to see some tour highlights. But when you get to see Rob, the majority of the time, he's got a huge smile on his face. He's interacting with the fans, and there's just nothing more that you can ask from a guy that is out playing professional sports than what Rob brings. Again, it just, every time he's been a part of the show, and I'm blessed to say this was the fourth time that we spent some time together, I smile an awful lot during the course of the interview. You can hear Rob smiling through the microphone, and hopefully that comes through the speakers as well. But that's a guy that you want to root for. That's a guy that you want to point out when you're out walking on tour. If you're walking at a Champions Tour event, you want to go walk with Rob, because the vibes that come from him, the positivity, is just everywhere. And I'm rooting so hard for him. I really wish that, we've talked about this before with other players, and like I mentioned with Sean a week or so ago, but the guys that get out there, I just don't understand why we're not letting the guys that are out there achieving all of the time just to play out there. I know that they've got to limit fields and stuff like that, but when I'm looking at guys like a Sean McKeel that's a major champion, a guy like Rob Labritz that brings so much. He mentioned he likes to play in the Pro-Ams. Get those guys out there on those Pro-Ams and interacting with the sponsors or the guys that are paying to be out there. It just enriches the tour. It enriches our game. And I just wish that he had a permanent spot out there. But rooting hard for him each and every week. I really enjoy when I look and see the tee sheets and see the Rob Labritz is on there. So I'm looking forward to following him the rest of the year. Hopefully we get to catch up with him again a little bit later on this summer. Coming up next in segment 2, we get our regular monthly visit from the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. But before Doc joins me, let me remind you about the great things going on up at Macklemore. Because this year, get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2-Under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2-Under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2Under, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. Okay, now back for his regular monthly visit with us is the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. Doc is our coach to help us with the mental side of the game. Each and every month he is back helping us develop confidence, play smarter out there. And if you're one of what seems like the millions of people that go down to Orlando every summer, you can find him at his Performance Enhancement Company or at the Ledbetter Golf Academy at the Reunion Resort. Dr. Bob's students continue to achieve great things each and every month. You can find evidence of that if you go out on his Instagram page and follow him at Dr. Bob Winters. As you guys also know, he's a board member of the Next Tour, which is a feeder tour to the Epson and LPGA tours. And I'm very excited we get to spend some more time with him again this month here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dr. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Chris, great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's always a pleasure to get to spend some time with you, Dr. Bob. And I know from our interactions prior to the show, you wanted this month's focus to be on happiness, which I'm all about, and what makes us happy on the course when we play. So tell me about that and the thought process that we should be doing so we remain happy when we're out there.
And tell you what, I saw, just a great lady of golf here on sort of a Instagram. She was making a little short, blip, Nancy Lopez. And, the way she signs off from all of her little recordings and her messages, it's always play happy. And I think, that's such a great message for so many of us, because most of us want to go out and we want to play happy, but we end up playing angry. We end up being very upset, very angry. And then people say, "Did you have a good time?" They go, "Well, hell yes, I had a good time." Don't they sound like I had a good time? I was out there playing golf today, so it was pretty funny. So I have to laugh about all this. So it's pretty crazy. So one of the things, that I would love to talk about, here, starting the month of June, really getting into the summer months, and so many people are listening to the show, really getting you off to a great start. And I have a wonderful story that I'm going to share from a World Golf Hall of Famer. And I was playing in the Rich Lerner December Classic that he had many, many years ago. And Rich has been a great friend of mine. I was on Golf Channel for many, many years, and he and his wife, Robin, had this great charity event. And it was fantastic because they always brought in golfers and professional golfers, celebrities, from almost every walk of life, great friends, from the New England and Pennsylvania, New York area, friends of Rich and Robin's. And we always had a great time. And I had been, I think, there every year for this Rich Lerner December Charity Classic. And one year I was playing with an unbelievable woman, and it was Marlene Stewart Street, World Golf Hall of Fame member, and just one of the sweetest, most wonderful people I've ever been involved with in golf. And if you don't know Marlene Stewart Street, a lot of people have heard of the name, but she is really Canada's first lady of golf. She is the only golfer ever, male or female, to win and hold the Canadian, the British, the United States, and the Australian women's amateur championship. She won all the amateur championships. She won the Canadian women's amateur championship 11 times. And so I was paired with her, and we're going along, and I just kept calling her Marlene Stewart, not Street, but straight, because that's all she could hit it. She said, "Wow," she goes, "You're pretty straight too there, Dr. Bob." I said, "I've kind of got this moniker. People call me Dr. Dart." I said, "But I'm going to start calling you Marlene Straight." And she goes, "Well, we're going to be right down the middle all day." And so it just had this wonderful conversation. We were enjoying our journey together, Chris. And we were playing in this scramble event. So she pulls me over to the side and she said, I can't remember a more wonderful time playing with anyone for a long, long time. She goes, you're the most positive, dynamic, enthusiastic person, she goes, I've ever met. She goes, what is it that, makes you so happy? Why are you so positive? And I go, I don't know, Marlene. And like a good therapist, a good psychoanalyst, I put the onus of responsibility of answering that question back on her. I said, what makes you happy, Marlene? And she said, oh, about golf? I go, yeah, about golf. She goes, oh, let me just get started. She goes, I love the people. I love the courses we'd go to. I love to travel everywhere. She goes, and not only that, she goes, I love the competition. She goes, I love the food. I love the travel. I said, hold on, you said travel twice. She goes, did I? She goes, but I love to travel. I love to eat all the food. And I was just, so, taken back by that. But she was just a great champion, a great competitor, but she loved everything. She loved everything about golf. And so she finally said to me, she goes, okay, Dr. Bob, what makes you happy on the golf course? And finally, I came up with this answer and I said, it's a little bit different here, Marlene, than yours. I said, but imagine we're on a par three, 205, 210 yards, maybe slightly downhill. And I said, I'm stepping into my ball and I'm feeling very calm, very composed, and very confident. I have a 3-iron in my hand. I'm not the longest player in the world, but I know this is the right club for the shot. And as I step into the ball, and I'm telling this story to Marlene, almost sort of, playing oral interpretation, just sort of, kind of portraying myself doing the action. I said, I step into the ball and I actually have this feeling that I know this ball is going into the hole. I have sort of this deja vu feeling in my head. As I step into the ball and I pull back, the trigger, I hit the ball, I immediately have this kinesthetic response, this feedback. I've hit it flush. It's butter. And I see this little white orb goes up into the sky, the blue canary sky. It's coming down right on the target. Boom. It goes right in the hole, or it lands right next to the hole. And I said, that right there, that satisfaction, that I did that. And at that point in time, Marlene, I feel omnipotent. I feel almost godlike because I created that shot. And I said, I think that is really what makes people really get attracted to this game. It's that positive reinforcement. They did something very masterful. They may not do it consistently. They may not do it all the time, but they have unbelievable satisfaction. They have mastery over that one moment. I said, I think that makes me happy. And she looked at me, Chris, and she kind of gave me this great Marlene Stewart Street smile. And she said, damn, Doc, that is deep. That is really deep. And I go, I thought it was. It was very deep, but it's really how I kind of feel about it. And when people go out to go play, I always want them to remember something. Is that I've said this for a long time, is that when we first got into the game, I mean, and we learned sort of our ABCs about, how to stand, how to grip the club, how to actually swing the club. But it was just all about hitting the ball. And when we would get that sweet spot, we would hit the ball well and we'd actually hit it down, the fairway. Well, that's just a great feeling. And it was partial reinforcement. We didn't get it every time, but those are the shots that keep bringing us back. And those are the memories that I think that we have to have. So for all of us, going out, I think we always need to do our ABCs. And what I mean by that is, A, B, C. Always be clear, on every shot you step into. Another ABC, very, very basic fundamental, always be committed. Committed to your task, committed to your target, committed to your feel, committing, to your club that you're using. I mean, most people, they kind of go through the motions, on their pre-shot routine, or even if they have a routine, and most people don't have a routine. But if you just commit to yourself to say, listen, what I want to do with this ball, and I want to go from point A to point B to point C in the least number of strokes in the most effective way. And I think if we always remember our ABCs, I think we get back, to playing some pretty good golf. And I'm saying anybody at any level, I don't care if you're a grizzled tour veteran or you're a 25 handicapper, if you just kind of remember these fundamentals, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Indeed. I love that, Doc. I mean, one of the things that I think we all go back to, right? Whenever in our round, and it usually, if we're not going well, it always happens on 18, right? The golf gods bring you back. You birdie 18, you make a nice par on 18. You may have had a really bad round, but the golf gods give you that one hole that keeps bringing us back. But I think there are a lot of shots over the course of our lives that when we've hit it pure, right? You talk about butter, hit it in the sweet spot. I think we remember those always, and we can go back to that spot and remember what a great shot that we had. And all of a sudden, things get better. And I think, for me, one of the many things that you have taught me over the years that you've been a part of this show is to kind of replay those good moments. If it's getting tough out there, if we're starting to feel stressed, kind of go back in your mind and find that one memory where you hit that one really great shot. And then that calms everything down. And then all of a sudden, you can start playing better from there. I think that's a great tip.
Well, there's no doubt that we have a memory bank, we're going to put a lot of great deposits into. And I was just, giving a great big session on, the psychology of great putting. And as you know, I've been, involved with that for about 40, 45 years. And I sort of listened to a clip that Jack Nicklaus was talking about, and I've had a chance to sit down with the Golden Bear himself and talk to him about putting and pressure putting. And it goes on to say, and he's actually said this many times, is that back in about 1956 or 57, he was playing the U.S. Amateur, I think, against Charlie Coe, and he had an 8-footer on the final hole to win that match and win the amateur. And he just wasn't going to actually step into that putt until he absolutely knew and believed that that ball was going into the hole. And he stepped in and he actually rammed that in. And he said for the rest of his career, he was always drawing on just not that putt, but the knowing factor that he can make a putt when it counts the most. He can be clutch. He can step in and make that putt. And I think that's really what all of the great, great players do. They can step up and be clutch and hit the shot. Because I think they go back and they tap into that memory bank and say, you know what? I've done it before. There's no reason why I can't do it again. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but I think you give yourself the very best chance. And so I think it worked, for Jack. I know it worked for Tiger. It's worked for Annika. It's worked for every great player. And for the people, that I've worked with, over the years, I've been blessed to have been with the very best, so many number ones, so many major champions. And we always talk about, this is the one that gets me going. So I'll tell you what, and if you start making putts, I almost guarantee you, Chris, that you're going to be a lot happier at the end of the day, because, and I, it kind of reminds me, I was, talking and, kind of sharing some thoughts with the late, great Andy Bean. And Andy and his great sort of Southern drawl, he was hitting some putts. And he was hitting some putts, on the green with the Ledbetter Academy. And he's knocking some 20-footers in. And he looks at me, he said, you know what, Dr. Bob? He goes, there's nothing better than sitting here just rolling in these 20-footers. Making 20-footers is good. And everybody who knows Andy Bean knows how Andy said that, so it was great. And that's really what, the happiness comes from. It's just, and then the ABC, the final, thought I want to have here for the show tonight is always be curious, always be childlike, and always be committing yourself to doing everything you can to enjoy the game, because it is the greatest single game. It's so much more than a game to everybody who plays it. We love it. It's a part of our life. And I know we're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. But I've had, a lot of people who've gone through a lot of things in their life. Whether it's divorce, death in the family, or betrayals or whatever. And I always tell them this, Chris. I said, people come and go. People will let you down. But daggone it, the one thing that never leaves you is your golf. I mean, golf gives you comfort, it gives you solace, and it makes you happy. So I hopefully, tonight, ABC, always be childlike, always be centered, and always be committing yourself to enjoying the game.
There you go. Doc, before you depart us, let us know again how we can stay up to date with the great things you're doing. How can we follow you online and on social media?
On social media, you go to Dr. Bob Winters or Dr. Robert Winters. You go on to the website, theconfidencedoctor.com, or you can actually Google Dr. Bob Winters and you can find me. I'm all over social media and on the internet. And I appreciate it, Chris. And if you go, next on the tee and watch all these great shows, I'm there quite a bit too. And thank you for always the great opportunity, pal.
I appreciate you, Doc. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I look forward to catching up with you again in July. You're the best, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Hit them straight.
Thank you. Take care, Doc. That is the great Dr. Bob Winters, folks. And again, follow him on social media at Dr. Bob Winters on Instagram and Twitter, or online at theconfidencedoctor.com. I love so much about what he shared with us this week. Nancy Lopez, play happy, right? We should all enjoy the game more and be out there playing happy. Mastery over the moment. Hit it in the sweet spot, right? And to get those ABCs. Always be clear. Always be committed to the field or to the club. Always be childlike. Those are all great things that we should remember and follow each and every time we're out there playing the game of golf. I mean, what's not to love when you're out there playing? Be happy. You're in a beautiful setting. You're out there with friends and family. It just can't get better than that. Enjoy the moment. Don't let it go because you might have had a bad hole, hit a bad shot, those sorts of things. Focus on the moment. Focus on being happy. We should do a lot more of that. I mean, tonight's episode, what should be the foundation and the theme is happiness, positivity. We saw that with Rob Labritz in the first segment. Dr. Bob is giving us more of that. Nancy Lopez giving us more of that. Take that with you. Ingrain that into your golf game. Ingrain that into your lives. Happiness. Let's try to be a lot happier and appreciate and be in the moment and enjoy our lives. Great stuff from Dr. Bob. Look forward to catching up with him again when we kick off the month of July. And we'll be right back. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have. Fast is a necessity. And speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade. Our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. You guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together, hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. Okay, now back in making his 9th appearance with me here on Next on the Tee is hockey legend Dan Quinn. Let me remind you about Dan's background. He's from Ottawa, Ontario, and grew up in Brockville. He played in the NHL from 1983 to 1997 with the Flames, Penguins, Canucks, Blues, Flyers, North Stars, Senators, and Kings. He was the co-winner of the Penguins Player of the Year award in 1986-87, and that award is voted on by the players and given to the player who exemplifies leadership for the team both on and off the ice and who is dedicated to teamwork. Over the course of Dan's career, he scored 266 goals, had 419 assists, which equals 685 points, and he did that over the course of 805 games. In the game of golf, he was one of the top players on what used to be the Celebrity Tour. He competed at the American Century Championship for many years. He won it 5 times, finished in the top 10 18 times. He also caddied out on the PGA Tour for players like John Daly, Ernie Els, and Yost Luton. He is incredibly insightful. He is a wonderful player both on the ice and on the golf course, and I couldn't be more excited. I get to spend some more time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dan, thanks for coming back on the show.
Chris, how are you? Great to be
fantastic.
back.
How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how I agreed to this at 8:45 at night when the Stanley Cup playoffs just teed off. But, I got the game on mute. It's 2-1 Carolina, and I'm watching this live. I don't. Just being honest. I'm like setting alarms to make sure I didn't fall asleep on you.
And happy belated birthday, my friend, from June 1st. I hope it was a great day for you.
It was a Monday, so it was kind of spent some time with my 2 daughters. They're both one's doing an internship in her practice, and one's doing rotation. So we had a nice brunch on Sunday, and I went and basically your show's on golf. I met about there's a little pub that I go to on Mondays that a lot of the guys in the golf industry, outside ops, assistant pros and whatnot, but here in South Florida, that's their day off. And yesterday was their official day off, where most of the high-end private clubs are off Mondays and Tuesdays, or for the rest of the summer. So that was my birthday. It was a nice quiet day.
Good for you, Dan. Like we've talked on previous shows, and again, had a tremendous career in the NHL, and afterwards, one of the top players, like I mentioned in your intro, out on what used to be the Celebrity Golf Tour. And like I mentioned, you won the American Century Celebrity Golf Classic 5 times, so much so that somehow your invitation started getting lost in the mail. But now you're out on the Pro Tour, which is a new startup kind of tour, very similar to the Celebrity Tour. Talk about what that tour is all about and how you got involved with that.
Sure, yes. So about, 24, October, November, I got a text from Jeremy Roenick and Bernie Nichols and a frantic, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I'm like, is this a prank or what's going on? And there was a team event put together by this group that wanted to resurrect more golf tournaments. So going back into the late 90s, to answer your question thoroughly, we had Tahoe start in 1990, I believe. My first was in 91, and my first win was in 92. And we had so much fun doing it that guys said, "Let's do this more." And John Elway, Mary Lemieux, Dan Marino, guys would host tournaments even. And it was just, to play sort of scratch golf and have fun as much as anything, but to compete against each other. And then I think 9/11 kind of kiboshed that, and the banking industry and sponsorship money was all kind of looked at a little more closely with a fine-tooth comb, so somebody couldn't just say, "Here's a bunch of money you guys go play for," or write it off. So so I was kind of skeptical, to be truly honest. But again, I'm now 61, so at the time I was 59, just turned 61 yesterday. Would have loved to have had it. So John Smoltz kind of took the bull by the horns with a gentleman named Tim Wilbanks. I would say they're the co-founders, and they have a sponsor. Texarkana is the company. It's an oil and gas. I'm probably saying the wrong thing. It's an energy company out of Houston, and they've put up enough money for 2 years to get this off and running and see where it goes. But I'm not good enough at the moment, or too old, and I don't hit it far enough to play 6,900 yard courses with these 40-year-olds. There's a couple guys that are playing really well, but they've got it off and running. I think August of last year was the first real event up in Fairhope, Alabama. That was all excited for a bunch of us. A hockey player named Joe Pavelski won it, who won Tahoe last year in 2025, and I think he's going to repeat this year. And then they had one in Orlando in December, another one in Palm Springs in February, one in Mississippi in February, and then one in Florida and at PGA National where they play the Honda in April, and then we had one 2 weeks ago at Savannah, Georgia, which is when I played for our good friend Bob Ford, just before I went up there. But anyways, it's going to be it's a tough concept to create another tour of athletes that can play golf in a high level. But I think there's something there, and I'm happy to support it. And for these guys, again, I wish I was 20 years younger, but it's been fun to be so much fun with the camaraderie and to be around the guys. I can't say enough. In fact, I might even go caddy for Pavelski at a tournament I'm not even qualified for.
Dan, you talked about some of the legends that are out there, and for our listeners back home in Pittsburgh, Jerome Bettis has played out there. Tommy Maddox, Cordell Stewart, former Pirates second baseman Tony Womack is out there. Our mutual good friend Darren Pang. I was so glad to see that Panger is a part of the tour as well. Talk about some of the legends from across sports. You mentioned a couple of the hockey guys. Talk about some of the other guys that are out there playing.
Well, the kid that's dominating right now is a baseball player, Aaron Hicks. And again, he's so young. I don't even remember watching him play baseball, but he's playing some really solid golf shooting. I always see the scores they shot and the conditions that we played in, and I kind of compare it to when I was okay. Or I think one of the legends of all time that just passed away in this past year, John Brody. When I researched him, he actually played in PGA Tour events as an NFL football player. Played quarterback for 17 years. Was a great voice of NBC golf and sports for a long time, and he also won on the Champions Tour. So that's real golf, and I always say that kind of is. I think I played some real golf. So did Rick Rhoden, ex-Pirate. But yes, so Jerome played in the team event we started this thing on in 2024. It was great to be around him. I call Flash. He still remembers the house I had at Nevillewood, and the hole I lived on, and we had coffee in Savannah just a couple of weeks ago, and it's just fun to be around guys. I think athletes in general have become. You hear about guys are good people now, especially in the sport of hockey, or the guys just want to be good guys, and it's just so fun to be around everybody across all the sports. And it's been a really the camaraderie in the locker room, banter, especially amongst hockey players, is something that you'll never replicate unless you get around in something like this, especially once you've retired.
How's Panger's game?
Panger plays great. He works all winter. Works for the Chicago Blackhawks. One of the greatest. I've known him I don't know if you know that, since I was 6 or 7 years old.
Yep.
And he's just he's a special person. He's a magnet. Everybody loves him and hugs him every day. He goes in the locker room. He's got cheeks smiling and grinning and always in a good mood. And doesn't matter. You wouldn't know what he shot. Again, he's 62, 5 foot. He says he's 5'4". I think he's actually 5'3" now, and I'll tell him that. But he loves the game of golf. It's him and I always tease. I always marvel at it. He knows that I used to love golf, and we were kids, and then I was 15, 16. We got reunited. He goes, "You played golf all summer?" He was an unbelievable lacrosse player and tennis player, but he never understood the fact that I like to play golf. Fast forward to now, he's an addict, and as are a lot of guys. I think I might have told you the Al McGinnis story back in the day. We roomed together in Calgary. In 86 Stanley Cup final or playoffs, he watched the 86 Masters, and he became a golf addict. So it's just funny how the 86 Masters and the 97 Masters, the Tiger won 86 with Jack in 97, really grew the game of golf amongst athletes to make it. This is pretty cool, and that's my opinion on it. But I think you could probably look at the statistics; it's pretty accurate.
When I was looking at the tour site, it looks like there are 3 tournaments left in the season, at least booked so far. Are you going to be playing in all 3?
So there's one in Minnesota in 2 weeks. I can't. It's Father's Day week, so I've chosen not to go up there. And then what Smoltzy, he's got I don't know, a little boy in him. So he's creating the last two events are based on how you did in the first 5 or 6. And I think it'll be 6 when it's all said and done. So it'll be the top 8 from each sport and the top 8 otherwise. So that'll be about 40 or 41 guys. And they'll play the one in August. And then he's having a tour championship, which will be like 32 guys. I don't know how the number, I think it's 30, 32 guys. So we'll see how that all works out. But John's done an unbelievable job as the commissioner and partner with Tim, I don't say partner, but Tim Wilbanks, a really nice guy, loves this concept and trying to figure out how to make a good business out of it. And I've been happy to, anytime they ask me to introduce or try to figure out ways to assist in that role. But that's the plan. Then the next one is a full event, 80 guys, and then the next two are half the field. Although I think, as I said, I might go to Turning Stone because it's up in the middle of New York, upstate New York, and I'm from just outside of Ottawa, and I may go visit my mom and my family, and then fly in and out of Syracuse. So I think that's my plan.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back, and Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all of that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit SundaySwagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, SundaySwagger.com. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick, it's not marketing, it's science. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from 6-time major champion Sir Nick Faldo.
You've heard of Squares, and there's a reason why. Because the best swings in golf don't start with your hands. They start from the ground up. Most golf shoes are built for looks, not performance. Squares breaks the mold. Our patented design gives your toes room to engage the ground, creating more stability, balance, and solid contact. Your same swing, now powered from the ground up. Experience the Squares advantage at squares.com. Squares. Performance starts where you stand.
All right, now back to more of the show. Dan, switching gears just a little bit as we look ahead a couple of weeks on the PGA Tour. We've got the U.S. Open this year up at Shinnecock. And in some of our previous conversations, you've said Shinnecock is your favorite golf course of all time. Remind everybody about why.
Great memory, and hockey player Brad Richards is a member there now. So that's, congrats to him for being a member of such a great club. And he sent me a picture, I'm going to say 3 days ago or 2 days ago, of the rough. It looks like it's set up to where they can do whatever they want. Oakmont's, obviously from any of us from Pittsburgh, is just an incredibly hard test of golf. And I always said to shoot on a 75 degree day in beautiful weather with no wind, Oakmont could be the hardest place to shoot par, just as they play it. But Shinnecock, I don't know. There's something about the way it flows, the combination of it's on Long Island. It's similar to a links course in Scotland or Ireland. And so the first time I played it, I had a great experience. Obviously, I always say this when we're talking about great golf courses, the first time you play something, it's who you played with and how you played. You could play horrible, and if it was in bad condition, you're going to say, this is the worst course I ever played, even if it was Pine Valley, right? So, but Shinnecock, I've always said, it's just 1 through 18. You stand on the first tee, and you can see almost, I think, 16 of the holes, maybe 14 of the holes from the first tee, and it's just a spectacular place looking at Peconic Bay. But the holes are just terrific. A mixture of good hard short holes, good long par threes. I think it plays as a par 70, pretty sure, and just a great all golf course. And I can tell you right now, what I saw from the rough, thick, flush, green, if they cut it a little bit, it's still going to be brutal if you miss the fairway. It looks like, because I saw Brad's picture he sent me 2 days ago or 3 days ago was up to halfway up his calf.
Oh my!
And they have 1 yard off the fairway. So, but that's what the USJ does. They'll wait, and then they'll come in on like the Saturday or Sunday before, and they'll have, what do they call it? I'm trying to think of the name. Is it layered or tiered rough? And they'll have, the first cut, then they'll have another cut, and then they'll have 120 yards off the fairway type thing. And they have fescue there. So it'll be it'll be a great tournament, a great course. The only thing that's ever happened at Shinnecock, I think, is I think when Goosen won, or was it Goosen that won? When they let it get away from them in
Yeah,
two.
when it got away from him, yeah.
So that's the only thing I think they'll be careful of. But there's no way that'll happen again. But it's going to be a great golf tournament.
Who do you think that course favors? Does it favor Scotty? Does it favor Rory and the guys from England, Scotland, Ireland? Who do you think it favors, and who do you like to win?
That's a good question. But I think Scotty and Rory have, if they're on, they've kind of proven in the last 3 or 4 years they're going to be hard to beat. And I was hoping the Masters would become sort of this, but I'm looking forward to a duel in the sun, sort of a Nicklaus and Tom Watson between those two at some point. The PGA was close to that, but that would be awesome to watch Rory and Scotty, be in the last group on a Sunday or a weekend together. I don't know if you remember 1977. That's when I got hooked on golf. But that was I would love to see that. I think it'd be so good for the game of golf to have those two, 5 clear of the field and playing for first and second against each other. But there's just so many good players that's going to be almost impossible to have happen again. Like there was never a major where Phil and Tiger, they were paired Saturday, Sunday, where they separated themselves, because there were so many good players. To say that a European or like Justin Rose or somebody that's been playing well in majors recently, or Tommy Fleetwood or Fitzpatrick is a favorite because it's a link style course, I don't think that's so much the case. I just think the guys are playing so good, and I'll be shocked if Scotty and Rory are not in the mix, and because it's such a ball striker. It's just if you hit it good, you're going to play good there, and the greens they're not brutally fast like an Oakmont can be. they're not as sloped, so it shouldn't be a putter's advantage. It's just going to be a ball striker's, and especially when there's so many holes go different directions, crosswinds, you have to hold it up, or left to right, you're going to have to hold it up, or right to left, you're going to have to hold it up, and you can't ride the wind to get it on greens and get it close.
You've mentioned Oakmont a couple of times, and obviously it's right there in Mr. Palmer's backyard back in the day, but did you and Mario ever have an opportunity to play alongside the King?
No. Well, it's funny. I'll tell 2 stories. I don't know if I ever told you this one, but the first time I ever played Oakmont, I talked to Bob Ford. I told him the other day, and this is probably why he and I we're great friends. But I called over on a Sunday night of Memorial Day, and I'm going to say it was 1987. I think it was 1987, and I was 21 or 22 years old. So was Mario, and I said, "Hey, it's who am I talking to?" And it was somebody in the shop. I said, "This is Dan Quinn. I play for the Pittsburgh Penguins." "Oh, hey, Mr. Quinn, how are you doing?" "Hey, can we play there tomorrow?" And the kid in the shop goes, "Well, let me just hang on one second." He pushed me on hold. "Okay, how many is there?" "Well, it's just me and Mario Lemieux." And he goes, "Okay, hang on one second." He goes, "We have to play with 2 members. It's 1 member, 1 guest. It's a holiday." So I said, "No problem. What time?" I think he said like 8:45. So I told Mario we were having a cookout, and just kids. And I said, "Can we go? We're going to go play Oakmont tomorrow morning." So him and we meet over there. I remember one of the members' name was John Jones. He was a Ram representative. I still remember that to this day. So that's whatever. Was that 40 years ago? So I went into the pro shop. Mary goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go in the pro shop real quick," because I already knew that Bob had made the cut in 1983 in the U.S. Open that he hosted, and what a legend he was. Because I was, he's a golf aficionado at so and so, whatever. So I went in and said, "Where's Mr. Ford?" "Well, he's on the course. He's been out there since 8 o'clock. When we first met, he goes, "Nobody from the Steelers, Pirates, or Penguins has ever done that before, to come in before they played." I said, "Where's Bob Ford?" So anyways, it was a great experience. In 1994, Mario and I actually watched Ernie Els won, but we watched the Friday that we were from just to the left of 18 when Arnie played his last hole in the U.S. Open. So
wow,
we were together in that bleacher that was on the 11th tee or 11th green and 18th right there. If you can remember, if you know Oakmont.
Yep.
But we were to the left of 18 and we watched, and that was the one where Arnie did that. It was the hottest Pittsburgh week in the first week of June, second or third week of June. I remember all those guys had those khaki. Remember Rocco Mediate and Colin Montgomery had those khakis, and they were we call them sweaty ass. They were soaking wet. But yeah, I watched me and Mario played 1987, and then what is that? 7 years later, we played watched Oakmont in 1994, and then there was a playoff, and we played it the day after the playoff that Ernie Els won. So we played on the Tuesday that morning, and then went to Toronto on a trip. But and I always tell the story. But remember how firm it was when Ernie won? It poured that night after the playoff. So we played like this really wet, long Oakmont on the Tuesday morning. But yeah, so got some great special memories of Oakmont. It's one of the my cherished places. I used to love going there. I couldn't wait to go over there the night before and get there, and just enjoyed everything about it.
Speaking of Mr. Ford, I hear you played a practice round with Mr. Ford and a guy who's regular here on the show, Tom Patry. How's 40's game looking?
We played like from 4,100 yards. Like I said, that's your nickname. He goes, no, it's where I'm playing. I'm 70 years old now. I'm kidding. But we played way upper, and I was, I wish I could play those on this pro tour. But no, he played really nice. And then I followed him in the tournament, and I think he shot even par and lost by one in the division he conceded himself to play in, being a 7-year-old. I think it was a 50 and then a 55 to 60 to 65. And then, anyway, I think, I don't know, you would know better, maybe 50 to 59. And, but it was I'm actually playing there Thursday with some friends. Again, it's a really good golf course, but the old pro, he knows how to play, and it's always a treat to be around him.
Your former guy, Youst Luton, is coming off his best tournament of the year over on the DP World Tour. He finished tied for 10th at the Nedbank Golf Challenge that honors one of my all-time favorites, Mr. Gary Player. And I'm guessing you're pleased to see Youst starting to build towards some great things. It looks like his game is coming back a little bit.
Well, I worked for him in 2014, and to be candid, listening to your guest just before me, sometimes the game of golf has gone to, these guys have physios and this and that and so on and so forth. And when I got asked to work for Youst, I was more of a, Stevie Williams or, I don't care. Like, listen, we got to play. I was a little more hard. I didn't suffer fools well, and he had his outside group around him were people that did not know how to play golf in big moments. And luckily for me, I learned from Ernie. And somebody always asked me, what did you learn the most? I said, I learned more by the questions that you were asked when you caddied. I learned more from the questions that he asked me. And I was lucky enough to have the answers, or to learn that next time he asked me, I was going to make sure I had the answer, and I was my conviction on those numbers, or whether the wind was coming from, or being positive and competing, and that's from the hockey side of me, or whatever. That you can't hide from 20,000 people when you're in Madison Square Garden. You got to play. So that's sort of the way I bought it. And with Youst, when I got that through to him, he got to 28th in the world. If you can pull it up at the end of 2014, and then 2015, he just had a team that was going to say yes to him, and I don't know, yes man, and from the Netherlands that worked in a driving range that so it's just a hard thing to learn. But Youst was a hell of a player and a great kid, but when he would get negative and whiny, he never played well, and he would let it go on for 3 or 4 holes, and that's what. Sometimes I had to get really, cross with him. It's like, I'm not here in Austria or Italy, away from my family in Florida to listen to you whine for 4 holes. Let's go. But yeah, no, he's a great player, and I don't know, he's got to be close to 40 now. He's getting up there, but he was trying to make the Ryder Cup team that year. I remember in 2014 for 2015, and was it 2015? Yeah, 2015, I think it was. And they got pushed back because of the pandemic, but yeah, no, he had a great run, and it's an interesting. I work for Cam Smith through a good friend of Pittsburgh, Bud Martin. It's interesting to watch, young kids develop as an older man. That I wish I'd have known things when I was 18 or 19 or 20, 25. Now that you're 60, or when I worked for Youst, I was almost 50. So you become a little more, what's going to work, and it's harder to kind of hold their hands.
Dan, I can't let you go without getting a few hockey questions in. The Penguins, they were figured to be one of the worst teams in the NHL this season prior to the season getting started, but Dan Muse got them playing much better than everybody expected that they would. I want to get your thoughts. What did you think about the Penguin season, and what actually could be ahead for them as we look forward to the 26-27 season?
I don't remember the kid's name, but I know they had a young rookie this year that played great. Obviously Sid and they had a goalie play really well. They they got rid of Jerry. Not the one they got, not Skinner, but the other kid played really well. And Sid's still, one of the top 10 players in the league. So it's an interesting. The one thing that I did say that I've being cynical old man was, with Letang and Carlson on defense, they're pretty easy to play against. But Carlson ended up playing. He had a hell of a year. At least he had a hell of a. He was one of their best players in the playoffs and at the end of the year. So they're still. It's very hard to keep guys together for 20 years, and the Penguins are proving that. And the teams that have done that, L.A. Kings, Chicago, that they won a couple cups together. It's just hard to do anymore. But if they can plug a couple holes with young guys. Malkin took a fair contract. You never know. They're good, and Sid still. Played in the World Championships. Got one of the classiest humans and players of all time. So it's a good team. One or two more plug-ins like they did last year. They're going to be back. They had a hell of a year for they overachieved. Let's put it that way.
You played on both sides of the Penguins-Flyers rivalry. What is it about the Flyers that frequently confounds the Penguins, regardless of who the coach is?
Well, Rick's a friend of mine, and I played with him in Philly, and was actually on the bus I'll never forget it. I think it was in New Jersey when he got traded to Pittsburgh. I think for Mark Recchi and whatever the deal was, and he was all upset. Not upset, but I played with Mario and Koff and those guys, and I said, "You are the luckiest human ever." And if you ask him now, he said he couldn't believe, like, when he got to Pittsburgh and learned like the environment and the culture and whatnot. But I think Rick's he had a great impact on Sydney in Pittsburgh when he was an assistant coach, and his influence so quickly in Philly. Rick's just one of those guys. He gets it. I'm watching my old roommate I lived with when I got traded to Philadelphia, Rod Brindamore's coaching tonight, and I guess it's not so much a tribute to me, but the tribute to the era that we played in. Bruce Cassidy, Craig Berube, the good coaches in the NHL kind of did play in the 80s and 90s. And a lot of, I think Paul Maurice, I'm down here in Florida, he's separated himself as well. He's done a great job. Tortorella has learned through the hard way, but I'm always pulling for guys I played with that are still coaching in the NHL today, like Tocchet, and especially Roddy Brind'Amour, doing a hell of a job here with the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup while I'm doing your podcast.
So who do you like? You get in the final. Who do you like, Carolina or Vegas?
Well, I got to take Carolina. No, I got to take my sister lives up in Greensboro, and she's been there since the 90s. And obviously, Roddy and I lived together for a year. We were polar opposites. He was doing push-ups, and I was doing beers. But he's a great kid and was a great hockey player. And to see him with this he was such an introvert. To see him with this personality and how engaging he is and how the guys want to play for him, it's just unbelievable. So, but no, I'm definitely pulling for Carolina.
Dan, before I let you go, let our listeners know again, how can we stay up to date with you, the great things that you're out there doing, particularly out on the golf course and the other things you're doing in life?
Well, I'm in private equity, so there's not much to follow there. We don't have a website or anything, but follow the Pro Tour. It's the Pro Tour US. Or I think it's just called the Pro Tour. It's a great. There's a good website, and we've been live streaming the last two events. I think they'll be live streaming again in 2 weeks. Other than that, I don't know what I am. I think I have an Instagram account to follow my kids, or a Twitter account to follow some news and whatnot. So I'm not too much into social media.
Dan, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to come back and be a part of the show. It's always a huge thrill to get to spend some time with you. I hope I get this privilege with you again before too long.
Chris, thank you so much. And I love that you love the game of golf and that you share with everybody, with all your great guests.
I appreciate you, Dan. Take care. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, sir.
See you, Dan. That is the great Dan Quinn, folks. A guy that just had an unbelievably great career in the NHL and then off onto the celebrity tour, had a great run there. Again, he won the tournament so often that they lost his invite. I mean, the American Century Golf Classic, he did it. He won it 5 times, and then somehow the invites didn't make it back to his mailbox anymore. So I think that's a hint that, hey, you're dominating this thing a little too much. So they moved on to other guys, and Danny wasn't out there anymore. That's a head scratcher to me. He's such a wonderful human being. He was such a great player, like I say, in the NHL for so long, and a pride of Pittsburgh when he was there and playing alongside Mario when Mario was first coming into the league, and everything he meant to the Penguins and whatnot. And a guy that's played for so many teams and was an asset everywhere he went, and then became a great golfer on top of that. So I love hearing his stories. I love hearing that the times that he was out at Oakmont and how Shinnecock is one of his all-time favorite courses, and the times that he was on the bag. And look, again, this is the ninth time that he has been a part of the show. Go back and find some of those previous ones where he talked about being on the bag for Ernie and on the bag for Jas Luton and the things that he was able to do. Look, he was on the bag with John Daly at the 2000 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, only for one round, because for those that are in the know and you want to go check this out on YouTube, John shot, I think, 83 in the first round, and thanks to a 14 that he took after hitting several tee shots into the ocean on the 18th hole. So you can go check that out. And John withdrew after that, didn't come back for round two. So that had to be hugely disappointing and frustrating for Dan as well. But he's just a treasure. I can't thank him enough for everything he's meant to me in the show over the years, and look forward to catching up with him again before too long. All right, that's it, folks. It is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out again to Rob Labritz, Dr. Bob Winters, and Dan Quinn for joining me. Scheduled to join me next time are, and boy, do I have a fun one coming up for you, a guy who spent 30 years on the drums as part of Billy Joel's band. Liberty DeVito is going to be back. I had the privilege of spending some time with Liberty, I think it was 3-4 years ago, and very excited that he is going to be back as part of the show. And speaking of all-timers, our great friend and a friend of Liberty's too, by the way, Matthew Lawrence is going to be here. So, look, between Liberty DeVito and Matthew Lawrence, what a great show that's going to be. You're not going to want to miss it. I want to thank our friends again over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners of the show and for hosting it on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by clicking on the sports section, and it's going to be front and center for you on the homepage of that sports section. So check it out there, or type in podcast.triblive.com. You'll see Next on the Tee. Click on that. Many of the most recent episodes from this season are waiting for you there as well. But as you guys know, you can find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content, particularly out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and GolfNewsNet.com as well. But folks, a huge dose of vitamin G for gratitude for each and every one of you for pressing play, for making Next on the Tee a part of your regular golf content. I am so appreciative for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies, and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.